Hi, you are watching Revenge of Reddit. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to write something like this on Reddit. But after what happened a few months ago, I need to get this story off my chest. Maybe it'll help someone else spot the red flags I ignored. My name's Eric. I'm 32, live in Denver, and until recently, I thought I had my life figured out. I had a steady job in tech support, a small but cozy apartment, and a girlfriend I truly believed was the one. Her name was Hannah. She's 29, works as a nurse, and has this calm, caring energy that makes you feel safe. Or at least, that's what I used to think. We'd been dating for about 3 years. Things weren't perfect, sure, but we had that kind of relationship where everyone around us said, "You guys are goals." We traveled together, hosted game nights, and even talked about buying a house. I was planning to propose this year. Everything changed on one random Thursday night in March. Hannah texted me during work. "Babe, remember that dinner with my coworkers on Saturday? Don't forget. You promised to come this time." Now, I remembered that she'd invited me before, but something had always come up. I'd had deadlines, or she said it was just nurses, and I'd feel out of place. But this time, I agreed. I figured, why not? I'd get to meet the people she spent 12-hour shifts with, and maybe finally put faces to the names I'd heard her mention so often. Saturday came, and everything felt off from the start. Hannah spent nearly 2 hours getting ready, way more than usual. When I teased her about it, "You trying to impress your coworkers or someone special?" She just laughed it off but didn't look at me. It wasn't the playful kind of laugh either. It was nervous, forced. She wore this new black dress I'd never seen before. Tight, elegant, classy. The kind of outfit she'd usually reserve for a fancy date night, not a casual dinner with colleagues. We drove to a restaurant downtown, an upscale place called the Lantern Room. I'd never been there, but apparently her hospital staff went there after big shifts or birthdays. When we walked in, I noticed immediately that the vibe wasn't coworkers hanging out. Everyone was dressed up. The men wore blazers, and the women looked like they'd stepped out of a catalog. We were seated at a long table. Hannah waved to a few people I didn't recognize, mostly nurses, and then she froze. My eyes followed her line of sight. Across the table sat a man I'd never met. Tall, broad shoulders, neatly trimmed beard, expensive-looking watch. The kind of guy who doesn't just walk into a room. He owns it. Hannah's face went pale. She whispered under her breath, "Oh my God!" and quickly turned to me, pretending to adjust her hair. I asked, "Who's that?" She hesitated. "That's Dr. Lewis. He's one of the surgeons. We work together sometimes." He caught our eye and smiled, that charming, confident, too smooth smile that instantly puts you on edge. When he greeted the table, he looked right past everyone else and said, "Hannah, you made it?" His tone was too familiar. He didn't say it like you'd greet a coworker. It was more like the way someone greets an inside joke. They hugged. Not a quick, polite hug. A slow one. A few seconds too long. My stomach dropped. The dinner started, and I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe this guy was just one of those overly friendly types. But the longer the night went on, the clearer it became. Every time he spoke, Hannah lit up. She laughed at everything he said, even the jokes that weren't funny. When she talked, he leaned in close, giving her that full attention that makes people feel like they're the only ones in the room. And then there were the little things, the touches. A hand brushing hers when passing a dish, a casual tap on her knee when she said something witty. It was subtle, but my eyes caught every single one. At one point, I excused myself to the restroom. When I came back, I saw it, clear as day. He had his hand on the back of her chair, fingers brushing her shoulder. She didn't pull away. When she noticed me, she flinched like a kid caught stealing. I smiled and pretended not to notice, but inside, My heart was pounding. After dinner, everyone decided to move to the bar area for drinks. I offered to grab a table while she chatted with a few coworkers. As I walked away, I passed behind them, and I swear I heard her whisper, "You shouldn't have come tonight." That's when I knew. Something was happening between them. I sat at the bar, pretending to scroll my phone, trying to make sense of everything. My head was spinning. The dinner had turned from awkward to unbearable. Hannah eventually came over, her smile strained. "Hey babe, you okay? You're being quiet." "Just tired," I said. "Long week." But in my head, I was replaying every detail, every touch, every look, every nervous laugh. When we got home that night, she was unusually affectionate. She kissed me more than usual, asked if I wanted to watch a movie together. It felt fake, like she was trying to overwrite what had happened. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I decided to watch, to observe. Over the next few weeks, I paid attention. Her phone, once always face up, was now always flipped over. She started working late more often. When I'd ask how her day went, she'd give vague answers. It was busy. Same old. Dr. Lewis was being annoying again. I'd never even brought up his name, but she did. And every time she said it, I could hear that careful tone people use when they're trying too hard to sound casual. One night, she fell asleep on the couch. Her phone buzzed. I know, you shouldn't snoop. But my gut was screaming at me, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. The message was from Mark L. "You looked amazing today. Still thinking about dinner." I froze. There was a whole thread of messages, deleted, but not completely gone. Enough fragments to paint a picture. He'd text her late at night. She'd say things like, "We can't do this again," or "Someone might find out." Someone might find out. That line played over and over in my head. I locked myself in the bathroom that night and just stared at the mirror. I felt like a fool. 3 years of my life. And this was what it came to. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I had a plan forming. If I was going to end this, I wasn't going to do it quietly. I was going to do it in a way she'd never forget. For the next 2 weeks, I acted like everything was normal. I played the role of the clueless boyfriend perfectly. Cheerful, loving, predictable. Hannah, meanwhile, got sloppier. Maybe she thought I'd never suspect anything. Maybe she thought she was just that good at lying. But here's the thing about lies. They always leave fingerprints. She started keeping her phone on silent. She'd step outside to take a call from work. Her perfume changed, not drastically, but subtly, the kind of scent someone wears when they're trying to impress someone new. One night, when she said she was heading to a late shift, I checked her location through our shared Find My iPhone app. She'd forgotten to turn off sharing. She wasn't at the hospital. She was at the Lantern Room again, the same restaurant where that dinner happened. My stomach tightened, but instead of driving there like a maniac, I took a deep breath and decided to play the long game. I needed evidence, not just for my own closure, but because I wanted her to see the look on her face when her perfect world fell apart. The opportunity came faster than I expected. The following week, Hannah told me we'd been invited to another dinner. "This time, it's more casual," she said. "You'll actually like it." I could tell she was nervous when she said it, but also desperate to appear normal. I smiled and agreed. Of course. Can't wait. That's when I began planning. I called my best friend Jake, the kind of guy who's equal parts loyal and chaotic. I told him everything. He listened quietly, then said, "So, what's the play?" "I'm going to catch them," I said, "at the dinner. Like, on purpose." Exactly. Jake's the kind of friend who doesn't just support bad ideas, he upgrades them. "All right," he said. "If we're doing this, let's make it good." We spent the next few days coming up with a plan. Step 1, make sure the dinner happens exactly as she expects. Step 2, record everything. Step 3, make sure the reveal is public. I won't lie, part of me felt cruel. But every time I thought about that text, "You looked amazing today," still thinking about dinner, the guilt vanished. Saturday came again. She wore that same black dress from the first dinner, the one I now knew wasn't for me. We drove to the restaurant, same place, same glowing lanterns, same scent of grilled salmon and overpriced cocktails. But this time, I wasn't the clueless boyfriend. I was a man sitting on top of a ticking time bomb, and she had no idea. We arrived, and whoa, surprise, surprise, Dr. Lewis was there again. He looked confident, relaxed, like a man who believed he'd already won. The table was smaller this time, just 6 people, including us. As we sat down, I could feel the air buzzing with something unspoken. The way Hannah avoided eye contact, the way Lewis smirked every time I reached for her hand, it was all there, plain as day. Dinner started harmlessly. Chit-chat about work, a few laughs, wine flowing like nothing was wrong. Then, right as the main course was served, Jake walked in. He wasn't invited, of course, but that was part of the plan. "Eric, man, I didn't know you were here," he said loudly, walking straight to our table like we'd just run into each other by chance. He was holding his phone, which, unbeknownst to anyone else, was recording. "Hey, buddy," I said, pretending to be surprised. "What are you doing here?" "Just grabbing a drink," he said. "Didn't expect to see you guys here." He looked around the table, eyes flicking between Hannah and Dr. Lewis. "Oh, this must be the famous coworkers you always talk about." Hannah's smile faltered. Yeah. Everyone. This is Jake, my boyfriend's friend." Jake pulled up a chair without asking. "Mind if I join you? Just for a bit." Lewis frowned. He didn't like being interrupted. "Actually, we were just—" "Oh, no, it's fine," I cut in. The more the merrier. We continued eating, but Jake kept stirring the pot, in the most casual, devious way imaginable. "So, Hannah," he said, "Eric tells me you've been super busy at work lately. Late nights, right?" She smiled stiffly. "Yeah, the hospital's been crazy." "Man," Jake said, shaking his head. "If my girlfriend worked that much, I'd start getting suspicious." Everyone laughed, except Hannah and Dr. Lewis. Then Jake turned to Lewis. "And you are?" "Dr. Lewis," he said flatly. "Oh, right. The surgeon. Hannah's mentioned you before." Jake smiled. "You two must work really closely, huh?" Lewis didn't answer. Hannah's hand tightened around her wine glass. That's when I decided to go for it. "Actually," I said, leaning forward, "funny story. Last time we were here, I noticed something between you two." The table went silent. Lewis shifted uncomfortably. "Excuse me." "Yeah," I continued, calm but loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "You remember, Hannah? That night you said I was imagining things?" Hannah's face went white. "Eric, not here." "No, I think here's perfect," I said. "Because now we've got your favorite restaurant, your favorite surgeon, and your favorite lie all in one place." People had started glancing over. A few phones even came out. Lewis stood up, trying to control the situation. "I think you've had enough to drink, man." "Oh, I'm stone cold sober," I said. "And you're the one who should sit down, because I've got something to show everyone." Jake, on cue, pulled out his phone and hit play. A voice recording began, one I'd made a few nights earlier, when Hannah had called Mark while she thought I was asleep. Her voice, crystal clear. "You know he's going to find out eventually." "Let him," Lewis's voice replied. "He's not your husband." "I can't keep lying to him." "Then don't. Just tell him it's over." The restaurant went dead silent. Hannah's fork slipped from her hand, clattering onto her plate. Lewis muttered something under his breath and stormed out. Hannah started crying, whispering, "Eric, please. I can explain." I stood up, tossed a few bills on the table, and said, "You already did." I walked out with Jake, leaving her there, red-faced, shaking, surrounded by people pretending not to stare. But that wasn't the end, because karma, as it turns out, had a little encore planned for both of them. Walking out of the lantern room that night felt surreal. The air was cold, sharp, and full of adrenaline. Jake and I didn't even speak for a few minutes. We just walked. The sound of our shoes on the pavement echoed like punctuation marks at the end of a long, ugly sentence. When we finally stopped at my car, Jake broke the silence. "Dude," he said, grinning, "that was legendary." I didn't answer right away. My hands were trembling, not from anger, but from release. It was like my body had been carrying a secret for weeks, and now it could finally exhale. But as satisfying as the public reveal had been, I knew the real storm hadn't even started yet. When I got home, Hannah had already texted me over a dozen times. "Please, Eric, I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just one time. I love you, not him. Can we talk? Please." One time? I'd read the messages. I'd heard her voice on the recording. It wasn't one time. It had been months. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone, sat on the couch, and stared at the dark TV screen until the reflection of my own face started to look like a stranger's. By morning, she was knocking on my door. I didn't let her in. She stood there, crying, mascara streaked, whispering, "I made a mistake. Please don't throw 3 years away." But that's the thing. She threw them away the moment she decided my love was disposable. I told her, calm and cold, "You didn't just cheat. You lied every day after. You looked me in the eyes and made me feel crazy for noticing." Then I handed her a small box, the one that had been hidden in my closet for months. Inside was an engagement ring. Her face crumpled. "You were going to propose?" "I was," I said. "Now I'm just giving it back to the store." She broke down right there in the hallway, but I didn't comfort her. I closed the door and let her tears fade into silence. That should have been the end. The clean break, the dramatic exit. But life doesn't always give you closure neatly wrapped in a bow. A few weeks later, I started hearing things through mutual friends. Turns out Dr. Lewis's wife, yes, wife, found out about everything after my little dinner show. Someone at the restaurant had filmed the entire confrontation and posted it online. It went mildly viral in our city. Not millions of views, but enough that it made its way back to his hospital. He got suspended pending professional misconduct review. And Hannah? She tried to defend him, told his wife it was emotional, not physical, which somehow made everything worse. His wife filed for divorce. As for Hannah, she quit her job a month later. Couldn't handle the whispers, the stares, the colleagues who'd seen her world implode over a plate of salmon and red wine. She texted me one last time after that. "I'm leaving Denver. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope you find someone who deserves the kind of love you gave me." I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it. Jake, of course, treated the whole thing like a victory. He'd playfully bring it up every time we went out for beers. Remember Lantern Gate? Classic. But over time, I started reflecting on what really happened. Not just the cheating, but what it did to me. You spend years building trust with someone, and then, in a single evening, it all collapses. You question everything, not just them, but yourself. Were you blind, naive, stupid? The truth is, people who cheat don't just break your heart, they rewire it. You have to learn how to trust again, how to look at someone without seeing ghosts of betrayal behind their eyes. It took months before I could even think about dating again. I poured myself into work, hit the gym, started hiking. I stopped checking her social media, at least mostly. Then one day, about 6 months later, I was out at a coffee shop when a woman dropped her phone right beside me. I picked it up, handed it back, and she smiled. That kind of smile that doesn't ask for anything. It just is. We talked about nothing and everything. Books, music, coffee. She was genuine in a way I'd forgotten people could be. When I got home, I realized I hadn't thought about Hannah once during the conversation, not even for a second. That's when I knew I was finally free. Looking back now, the awkward dinner feels almost poetic. The moment everything fake in my life burned away, leaving only the truth behind. Painful, yes. Humiliating, absolutely. But also cleansing. Because sometimes the universe doesn't whisper when it's trying to tell you something. Sometimes it hands you a menu, sits you down, and lets the truth be served in front of everyone. And if you're lucky, you walk away. Full, not of anger, but of closure. So, yeah, if anyone out there's reading this, stuck in that uneasy feeling where something just doesn't add up, trust your gut. Don't ignore the awkward dinner, because that might be the night your life finally begins again.